Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get started here. We're going to have a bit of a rolling start because what I've figured out with YouTube is you're not supposed to start right away. You're supposed to tell the audience, show up for 10 p.m., but then I'm in the stall for like 10 or 15 minutes because I want like a big, good audience here. No, I don't know if I want to do that. I think that's a bit silly. Oh, and I've got some echo. Did you guys hear that echo? I don't know if you did. You might have done. I still have echo. There we go. I think I fixed it. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whatever it happens to be for you. For the universal time zone clock, which we always go off of, it is currently Wednesday, August 21st. August 21st, 2024. It is just past 0200, and this is the Happening Watch, where we talk about whether it's happening, and if things are happening, what can we infer from these happenings, and what should you do in response to the potential of happenings occurring, and whether something occurring really counts as a happening. Now, what we're going to talk about today isn't really something happening right now, or even something that has happened. It's also not something that is occurring or has occurred. We're talking about a forecast. We're talking about me logging onto the computer and talking with my friends and telling them, folks, I like this thing called the HFGCS. That's the US military's radio communication network, shortwave radio. And they like to send all kinds of crazy alphabety spaghetti messages over the shortwave radio. And sometimes people hear these and they get a little bit excited because they're thinking, well, what might this be? What might we be hearing today? And usually it's fairly boring. Um, Although what counts as boring is going to be subjective to people. Today, for example, was fairly active. I wonder if we can maybe pull that up on screen for you. I don't know if I've got all the, Oh no, it's not working. Ooh, how do I do this? Hold on. I'm going to show you how active it was today if I can get the program to work. Excel. Oh, stellar. It's working. Good news, everyone. So I don't know if this is all the messages, but we've got 22, and it was fairly interesting because it started off with a set of 34 and 33 character messages. Well, it started off with a mistake, actually, because I thought it was 35. Um, and you saw a lot of messages starting with Bravo, Quebec, a lot of them, and then they started introducing some X2s into the mix, and then things seem to have quieted down. So that looks like it may have actually been some kind of exercise, but that's a lot of speculation. So a day like today, or like August 20th, 2024, because that's what we're looking at, technically the previous day's messages. Something interesting happened there, but not a happening as such. And if someone were to tune in on a day like August 20th and say, this is not the most exciting thing in the world, I'd say, fair enough. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I like it. I know some of you like it. But for the wider audience, they're not necessarily going to get excited. What are they maybe going to get excited about? Or at least, well, I mean, what do I, get very excited about? A Skymaster event. I mean, that's a big deal, and potentially there could be one today. Now, for the audience that's listening and is followed the channel for a while, I'm still around because I'm very interested in these Skymaster events. That is a period where the U.S. military is, the impression I have, what they're doing is they are rehearsing a large-scale war game, which involves a nuclear offensive or even, a reaction to a adversary firing off nuclear weapons. I think it's that scale of exercise or event that they're doing, and it's pretty cool. Depending on how long the stream goes, we'll see what the vibes are. I'll show you guys some examples that you may not have seen on the channel if you haven't looked through of what it is about these that capture my attention so much. But first, I want to talk about for folks, why today? Why am I picking today? As you see on the right, kind of middle top right side of the screen, we have a condition yellow in effect for the following dates: August 21st, 2024, August 28th, 2024, September 4th, 2024. Now, I want to be very clear. I am not saying all 3 of those days will have a Skymaster event. I'm saying one of those will. Now, what I want you to notice, August 21st is a Wednesday. August 28th is a Wednesday. And September 4th is a Wednesday. So these dates were not picked out of a hat at random. They were forecast for a reason. Now, what is the reason? What is the rationale? How am I picking these days for the possibility of a Skymaster event? Well, not that page. There we go. If we take a look at these dates, and some of these are provided, I want to give a shout out to Jeff Haverlaw, who has been monitoring the HFGCS for a very long time and shares information with me over email. We stay in communication. And this is a combination of some of his dates and some of mine, and I actually just added one in because it wasn't in here earlier, so I have to make sure that annotation is right. Although I would assume he documented the same day I did on May 19th. These are previous dates where Skymaster events were documented. Now, what I want us to do is take a look at a few of the specific dates. This one. Oops. How do I fill? No fill. Red. Okay. August 31st. Oops. We're doing this in real time, ladies and gentlemen, and that is okay. So these are 3 dates I want us to take a look at. August 25th, 2021. 2021. I keep saying that. 2021. That was a Wednesday. August 31st, 2022. That was a Wednesday. August 31st, 2023. That was a Thursday. But this is where it can occasionally get a little bit of a waffle with the difference between local time and the universal coordinated time. So I assume what they were doing there, August 31st, they may have been recording that using universal coordinated time or something. If we go to a resource for double checking that date, this channel, youtube.com/@ neatintel. Many of you may be familiar with it. And we scroll down to the special live stream archive, because this was a while ago. We will find on a previous channel, we documented Skymaster exercises on August 31st, 2023, but it looks like it would have gotten started maybe right on the cusp. Yeah, right on the perimeter there. You can see that it kind of started right on the cutoff of August 30th and 31st. So in terms of US local time, this would have been August 30th. The same way right now, if you are in US time zones. Oops, you guys didn't see any of that on screen, did you? There we go. Let me do that again. Let me show you how you can pull up what I'm talking about. So if you go to the Neat Intel YouTube channel and you scroll down to the special live stream archive, you will find the August 30th documentation of Skymaster. It kind of started right on the cusp of midnight. So that was a Wednesday as well. Now, the other thing you would notice if we go back to those dates, those were all also the last Wednesday of the month of August for the respective year. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But if you guys have been following the channel, you know I've been saying for a while now, or at least the last couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. It's been a bit. I've said if I were to bet for which date it would be, like if I had to put money down, I would say August 28th, 2024. 2024. Yeah, that's correct. But there always is a little bit of wiggle room with these exercise dates as far as we can tell. So it's traditionally been on the last Wednesday of August, but maybe there's some delays, maybe something gets pushed ahead, maybe something gets pushed back. So it seems fair to allow ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. Now, there's another YouTube channel you guys might not be familiar with, or you might be familiar with. That channel PDGLS. And if we pull this up and check out his most recent video, oh my goodness, he did something about half an hour ago. Let's go through these in the order he uploaded them. So PDGLS, this is one of those channels on YouTube. This is someone who I would dare say, similar to Jeff Haverlop, seems to know a lot more than I do about a lot of different things. And one of the things he's very competent at, and I sort of have my hiccups with, is the NOTAMs, the air traffic space reservation. I don't even know the correct terminology for it, but basically the thing, well, in this context in specific, where the U.S. military notifies the FAA and says, hey, we're going to be using this area of the sky at this altitude, and nobody's allowed to come near us while we're doing our thing. And what we've seen with Skymaster events in the past is we get these airspace reservations ahead of time, and we often get those airspace reservations. They'll show up for 5 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time. What am I saying? Like 2 hours at a time, 4 hours at a time, here or there. Sometimes there's like 2 4 hour notices back to back, and that's pretty routine. They don't even always use all of them. Sometimes they'll reserve the airspace and they won't even send an E6. But what we see with Skymaster events is they will have airspace reservations for much longer. We're talking like 8 hours off the bat or even longer than that. And the notices that PDGLS is flagging for our attention, these are about 24 hours. Now, these are about, not even 45 seconds long altogether. Actually, yeah, no. Not even a minute if we watch all three of these. But I want you guys to check this channel out. So that's going to be the deal here. If you're crunched on time, PDGLS, short, sweet, and to the point. You can find out what you'd like to know about these airspace reservations in less than a minute. But if you're here kind of for entertainment or just to kill some time, that's going to be what we're going to do. So you will watch me struggle through what PDGLS has put together for you already. So he deserves a lot more views. That's why I'm going to do this. So we're not going to play the full video, but I've got to pull up the link from this description, and this is the exact same thing you guys can do as well, right? So if we click this up, this is a website that manages the airspaces. This is the FAA, and what you check in the description, he basically tells you this is the code you punch in for the areas in question that he's very nicely highlighted for you. You post that. What the spruce? Which one am I supposed to look at? The civilization of China. What? No. See, again, this is going to take much longer. Filters. Today and 22nd, apply. That didn't help at all. Okay, we're going to cheat a little bit. Which one in particular am I supposed to be looking at? Who's watching this? Who's watching this right now? Good Lord. This is why I just leave this to other people. We're gonna cheat a little. We're not even gonna do that. I don't understand it. Carf? What do these words mean? Yeah, don't worry about it. This one, you can pretty much see on the screen here. PDGLS has pulled this up for you. Starting August 19th, that was when it was issued, but it will go into effect August 21st at 13:30, which is what, 11 hours from now? And it will end August 22nd, 2024 at 0031. So that is, I don't know, 11 hours? Good Lord. 13. I'm not this illiterate, am I? Okay, 11 hours. I shouldn't question myself. So this airspace is for about 11 hours. No, 12 hours. 12, good Lord. Guys. 12 hours. And that was his first video. And then he put out a second video for us with more reservations. And as he says in the title, these are 24-hour reservations, and I'll leave that for you. Now, we will have to watch this one in real time because I'm kind of curious about it. His comment after the second video was he felt like it wasn't really probable that there would be a Skymaster because there wasn't a long reservation in the Gulf of Mexico. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's just check what he says in this video.
There's still no schedule for Whiskey 602 in the Gulf of Mexico or any of the alternate areas they sometimes use, so I'm still not expecting a big nationwide Skymaster on Wednesday. The Atlantic and Pacific region.
All right, whatever else he says, I'll leave that for you guys to check his video and find out his further commentary. So his comment at the moment, you do have these reservations at the Pacific and the Atlantic, but you don't have a reservation over the Gulf of Mexico. And that's what we've seen in the past with some of the Skymasters. There have been airspace reservations over the Pacific, over the Atlantic, and the Gulf of Mexico. If you remember back in April, one of the Skymasters then had this very long operation, the 12th, where things were happening over all three bodies of water. And it was quite intense. It was caught a lot of people's attention. Most of you became familiar with the channel from that very large Skymaster event where we saw, you know, that kind of thing. However, that has not been the standard for every single Skymaster event, as far as I understand. And what I'm going to do is pull something up in the background, but I think the May 19th this channel, we heard them saying Skymaster on the HFGCS. I believe that one was just over the Pacific. Let me check. I have this documented. May 15th slash 16th was, we have that documented in the Jiang Wanyang Skymaster Surveillance Committee as a air quotes mini Skymaster event. And for my comments, it says, it appears to have been limited in scope to an exercise on the eastern U.S. coast with an E6 operating as the Skymaster. Lasted about 4 hours. So it was a mini Skymaster. So they're not all the same. Sometimes they're these very large ones, and sometimes they're these very small ones. And there's even one, the one at the start of February in Europe was literally just one E6. And I don't know if during those times the US had, these airspace reservations, even though they weren't using them during those. I wouldn't be familiar. But from what we've seen in the past, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of a Skymaster event only happening on the Pacific and the Atlantic. From my documentation, again, if we go back to the recording I did of the Skymaster in August, this was an SDR in Montana. It's a very good SDR. So it may have picked up any broadcasts on the East Coast and the West Coast. I don't think I even documented this because there was so much going on, but that would be something maybe you could look through if you were interested to get an idea of kind of the scope of that, at least according to that SDR. So that's pretty much where we're at. If you guys saw on the social media on x.com/neatintel, I did put out a notification saying that I expect us to go to condition yellow. I would say, honestly, based on the airspace reservations that we have in place right now, I will be feeling fairly comfortable escalating to condition orange tomorrow. At around, I don't quite know yet. Basically when I wake up. If it looks like things are happening when I wake up, that'll be the standard. And if it starts as soon as 13:30, I mean, I'll be awake, but I won't immediately be available. How do I put this? I should be, yeah. This is quality stuff. Why aren't more of you subscribed to this stream? Why aren't more of you subscribed to this? This is not the best episode of Happeningwatch, ladies and gentlemen. That's honestly all I really have to share with you. In terms of the forecasts, like if you guys have questions about the Wednesday thing, I believe I've just explained it. So all three of these dates are conditioned yellow automatically. I would say it looks to me, based on those notices, that tomorrow or today, August 21st, closer to the time we would expect it to start, we'll go to condition orange. And then if we actually hear someone say Skymaster on the radio, that is one of the predefined things where we hop to condition red. And that'll be a Skymaster warning. And we've talked about this in previous streams. The difference between a Skymaster watch and a Skymaster warning is the same thing that the weather guys use for the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Tornado watch says, we've got some clouds in the sky, we've got the right precipitation, we've got all of this stuff going on with, the pressure systems. I don't understand that. And they're saying a tornado is quite likely. So that's where I think we're at. Based on the date forecast, that's where I would be saying, we're automatically on a watch. With the tornado warning, that's actually someone saying we see the funnel in the sky right now. We're just waiting for it to touch down. So this is a warning. You guys need to go in your storm cellars and so on. So that's the thing with the Skymaster warning. As soon as we hear them say Skymaster, we jump to the warning. We go to condition red. And what does that mean for you, the people who are familiar with this channel? What that tells you is this is a good time to listen to the HFGCS more than usual. As we said at the top of the screen, honestly, most of the time listening to this is not the most exciting thing in the world. And even on a day like August 20th, where there was something interesting happening, it's not really something, we can tangibly speak to on its own. If someone kind of comes to me as they did today and say, we think there's some kind of exercise going on right now, I said, oh yeah, that could be, because the traffic sure seems to me like there's something going on. But that's it. It's done. It kind of quietly peters away. We'll look at that again. You see it just sort of stops abruptly. I mean, so does Skymasters, but this is fairly short-lived. From 1738 to 2016, that's about what? 4 hours-ish? Um, it's more with the Skymaster events, and let me see if I can pull one of the documents that I do have up, if it'll cooperate with me. There we go. Um, so you hear all kinds of stuff. This is the documentation that I have from January 11th. This is the documentation that I have from April 12th, April 18th, and this is all April 18th that I have. All one day. A lot's going on there, and I am, noting some things I usually don't know a little bit extra, but you can see a lot of different messages, different format from usual, different call signs, different operators. And even this one, we said earlier that May 15th was a mini Skymaster. You still had a decent amount of stuff going on. What I said I wanted to show you guys was a couple examples, because I know some of you are subscribed to the channel, but you don't necessarily go back and look through some of the older content. So individual message recordings, if you go on the front page of Neat Intel, sometimes these are just recordings of long EAMs, because some folks get very excited. They hear a long EAM and they think, oh my goodness, there's never been such a long EAM before. Sure there has, ladies and gentlemen. There have been all kinds of long EAMs before. And all of these have happened before, obviously, because they're recorded. So they happened in the past by definition. But I want to give you some examples, and we won't listen to the long ones in full, especially because some of that you won't necessarily recognize what's different about it. But this one, let me double check. So I don't know if this was broadcast during a Skymaster event, if I'm looking at the documentation right. 1910. But this is one example. I think I pulled this. Yeah, I have the source there. So this is pulled from an HFGCS Discord, and the recording was taken October 2019. That may have been a Skymaster. What day was that? 2019. October. That was a Saturday. But these also broadcast during Skymaster events. So let's listen to this one, and I'll show you another one that's more germane.
All stations, this is Parsonage with a 274 message of 3 groups. Stand by. All stations, this is Parsonage with a 274 message of 3 groups. Stand by. Message follows at time. Quebec. Yankee. Kilo. Sierra. Golf. Tango. Whiskey. Zulu. I say again, message 274 message of 3 groups. Papa. Quebec. Yankee. Kilo. Sierra. Golf. Tango. Whiskey. Zulu. This completes a 274 message of 3 groups. This is Parsonage out.
Okay, so you just heard that message. Who cares? What was that even? Fair question. I've talked about this in the past. I unfortunately am not an American citizen. We try not to dwell on that on this channel because it's kind of bizarre. I unfortunately live in Canada. I wish I did live in the United States, but it's not quite that simple, is it? We just heard a 274 message, and this is a Freedom of Information document release from something or other with the US government, and if you look through, you get an idea of the context. But this seems to be something that they use for training their staff. And as you just saw, basically all I did was I typed in 274, and I get this stuff pulling up. So there's some kind of document called the USKAC 274. And that it's just referring me to this one document. But what is USKAC? Well, I used to know off the top of my head, but I don't remember anymore. But you see, it's definitely some kind of US government thing. I mean, this is ComSec, Marines. You get an idea here of some stuff. Oh, some of you will like that because that says one-time pads. USKACs, ACIs. So this is all kinds of like US document stuff. Now, the other thing, if we go back to 274, in this document, at some point, you see on the same page a discussion of how to use the 274 system in the exact same breath as they're talking about the nuclear execution reports. And by the way, you'll see right there, required reading for the student who's being trained for, a non-commissioned officer. This is pretty much the money shot here right now. This is not the best stream. I don't know why. I had a good day, but I feel fairly off, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully not tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't forebode for what will happen tomorrow. But this is a big deal. This kind of gives you a context for what 274 might be. And when it talks about the Airborne Command Post, the ABNCP, that's talking about the planes that we monitor and track when it comes to the HFGCS and the EAM transmissions and all this stuff. And now it's saying those staff are familiar with 274, and we can infer that has to do with 274 messages, the nuclear planning and execution system, and these nuclear execution reports. So now let's take a look at another recording that was uploaded to the channel on the individual message recording playlist. And this is a recording we're going to listen to. This happened during a Skymaster event on April 16th, 2023, which, not 2024. So even though most of us became familiar with these April 2024, again, there have been a lot of these. And the one on April 2023 is quite interesting. So we're going to listen to this, and then we're going to talk about it.
X/99//. I say again, Skymaster, this is Yuma Control, Brim 089 on 31, recovery report, / Kilo Sierra Zulu Lima, Kilo Sierra Alpha Whiskey, / 1X/1XX/99// Skymaster, this is Yuma Control, Brim 091 on 31. Recovery report.
So you can listen to the rest of that yourself if you're interested, but as you can see from the transcription, it's going to repeat what you just heard. Couple things here. This is different from EAMs. We don't hear them saying X during an EAM. They would have said X-ray. They usually, they never say / during an EAM. And And also, what they don't do during EAMs is say airport codes. So take a look at the two four-letter character sets at the start of these messages. KSZL and KSAW. Let's take a look at something. KSZL, do I have that right? Yep. KSZL, ICAO. And ICAO, what does that even mean? I forget. The International Civil Aviation Organization. That organization gives airports their airport codes, or in this case, the Air Force Base has their Air Force code, base code. KSZL is a United States Air Force base located just south of Knob Noster, Missouri. Okay, that's fine. That is a base that's active. Oh, I think we have a message.
All stations, this is word stock, break, Bravo, Quebec, C, Mike, Tango, standby, Bravo, Quebec, Sierra, Golf, Mike, Tango, standby, Bravo, Quebec, Sierra, Golf, Mike, Tango, standby, message of 42 characters follows. Bravo, Quebec, Sierra, Golf, Mike, Tango, Hotel, 2, Foxtrot, 6, Delta, Quebec, Alpha, Tango, Echo, Oscar, Hotel, Alpha, Whiskey, Charlie, 7, November, Echo, Sierra, Hotel, Delta, Echo, 7, Hotel, Romeo, 2, Lima, Papa, Kilo, Juliet, Yankee, Zulu, 4, Zulu, Victor, I say again, Bravo, Quebec, Sierra, Golf, Mike, Tango, Hotel, 2, Foxtrot, 6, Delta, Quebec, Alpha, Tango, Echo, Oscar, Hotel, Alpha, Whiskey, Charlie, 7, November, Echo, Sierra, Hotel, Delta, Echo, 7, Hotel, Romeo, 2, Lima, Papa, Kilo, Juliet, Yankee, Zulu, 4, Zulu, Victor. This completes message of 42 characters. This is the word stocked out.
All right. I think I had just a little hiccup there with the internet. Thankfully, right after the message ended. That wasn't necessarily what we were looking for right now, but we will note that message broadcast. Not sure I quite caught the call sign, but yeah, it was 42 characters. Bravo, Quebec. Now, what were we talking about before that? I believe we were looking at these. Well, you were suffering through me looking at these for you. This is one example of one thing that we hear during these Skymaster events that we normally don't hear during, an average day on the HFGCS. So there are very few recordings of these messages available online. I think these recordings, so this one was by me, this recording of the April 2023 one, that was taken by me last year. This one, as it says on the video for you, was originally uploaded to a Discord server. But as far as I know, this is the first time these types of messages have been uploaded to YouTube. And I did a fair amount of digging to see where else recordings of these had been posted. Again, if you see on the right, mostly these are just recordings of long EAMs for you guys to get an idea. But from the top of this year, during the January 11th Skymaster event, I'm not sure if it doesn't feel like loading, but you'll get an idea there of other things. Oh, I remember we were looking at the the airport codes. So we looked up the first airport code KSZL, which was Whiteman. That's fine. Now KSAW, we typed that in, and I apologize for using Google if there are any Bing Maxis here. This is the airport code of a regional airport in northern Michigan. Okay, why? This isn't a U.S. airbase, although it was. It used to be. You'll see that it's a former airbase. It was originally designed to accommodate B-52s. It's a very large former Air Force base. And that's the only reason I can think of for the HFGCS to broadcast a nuclear recovery report. Again, that's not me guessing. That is, what this terminology is talking about. With respect to a decommissioned Air Force base. Oops. Now, if you've been following this channel, you know I always get weirded out when they go to northern Michigan. If we take a look at the live stream tab, I will occasionally make a point of noting on the thumbnails if they go up to Lake Superior, northern Michigan. I think the last time was around here, or a little bit sooner. I may have missed it. Here we go. So June 19th, we had an E6 over Lake Superior, and I believe we didn't hear a octopus message back then. But if you go back May 19th, where are we? This was an instance where they were over Lake Superior / northern Michigan, that same area again. And if you watch this stream, this is where we heard a transmission of an octopus message. That's the name I've come up with them, which is both, well, sometimes voice traffic, but occasionally digital traffic. And if you watch this stream at the respective time, you'll see that this E6 was over northern Michigan and broadcasting this message, which you can kind of listen to the commentary I did back then to get some more context and idea of what's going on there. But E6's flying over bodies of water is not that weird. If it's flying over the Pacific, that's fine. There's submarines over there. It's communicating with a submarine, whatever. It's flying over the Atlantic. I mean, there's a submarine over there. That's fine. If it's over the Gulf of Mexico, there's submarines. They're broadcasting stuff to the submarines. They're communicating with them. That's normal. There's no submarine here. Or is there? So every time they go up there, it really just it messes. I'm like, why are they there? What are they doing? And then again, you have that 274 message, or sorry, the recovery report during a Skymaster event last year where they're talking about a decommissioned Air Force base in the area. Now, sometimes I sound insane when I'm complaining about this, but I believe I posted it. Here we go. Bellerophon in the chat box a couple days ago, and he's in the chat box right now. Hello to you. There was a post on the National Review. It's behind a paywall, but if you know how to get beyond paywalls, it's not a big problem. The U.S. military is quietly reinventing itself on the Great Lakes. This was published August 17th, talking about some stuff that was going on in July. And the full article kind of talks through what exactly was going on. But, you know, the lead here, as some of the world's largest inland lakes, they provide the United States with an opportunity similar to that found at Area 51. Now, what does the article mean when it compares it to Area 51? Well, let's take a look at a map. This is something going on right now. So this E4 looks to be landing after taking off about, well, actually may have been in the air before that. What has it been doing all day? This probably relates to those messages we were hearing earlier. Anyways, that's kind of a tangent. If you go up here to northern Michigan, this is the middle of nowhere, bro. No one lives here, basically. Well, like, barely anyone lives here. And that's what they're alluding to, that this is an area where nobody really lives, and you can do stuff and no one will be paying attention. The same way if you try and find Area 51 in Nevada, like, this is the middle of nowhere, man. Like, nobody lives here. Nobody does stuff here. There's no reason anyone would ever be here, except that the military has set up Area 51 there. So that's kind of what they're saying is going on with northern Michigan, the Great Lakes. No one lives here, basically, like, in the grand scheme of things, and they're not going to really notice if the US does some big complicated military exercise. I mean, there's some locals, but this is like, I can speak for like this side of the region. This is like a bunch of forest with nothing. There are like a few reservations and some towns that are literally just like a gas station town and won't exist in 10 years because there's like a population of 10. That's kind of what I'm saying. When no one lives there, I'm assuming the same experience I had when I like visited this part of Canada is probably what's going on here. So I could absolutely see how the US would decide this is perfect for us to try stuff out. And I think that's what's going on when you pick a day like May 19th, if that loads. Why isn't it loading? Oh, because I clicked the thing. Hold on. Was it not 19th? Oh, for heaven's sake. This is not a good day for the stream, ladies and gentlemen. May 17th. No. How? Anyways, I assume you understand what I'm trying to say. Good lord. Can someone pull up I need like a Jamie to pull stuff up for me in the background. Jamie, can you pull up a day? What day was this? May 17th. Why isn't this website working right now? The website's not working. It was on May 17th, unless I have the filters wrong. Okay, well, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why it's not working. We need to go back to ARC, and we need to go back to these. This one timed out. So there's something weird. That tangent was just there's something weird going on with the Great Lakes. And that was actually a question I had. So if there's no airspace reservation over the Gulf of Mexico, maybe there's some weird airspace reservations over Lake Superior? Um, I've been rambling. Let me see what kind of. There's some questions. So you guys are constantly asking about culinary. Z69 culinary was a call sign that was used during the day Israel was first attacked. They were giving EAM messages to bombers. So I'm like partially aware of where this bullshit came from. This was another YouTube channel which spread a lot of lies and misinformation about what Skymaster events are. These are military exercises. During the let me see. Skymasters. Was it the 12th or the 18th? Oh, it would have been the 18th. Let's pull that up again. So during the April 18th exercise, you can see I have noted one of the E6s was using the call sign culinary, and it was receiving Skymaster messages from various B-52s. This is pretty similar to what we've heard go on in the past. E6s receive messages using various call signs. So back on the 12th, you had an E6 using the call sign Royal Gem. And I used to note these down somewhere. I think it was just Royal Gem on the 12th, if this is correct. On the 18th, you had at least a few E6s with different call signs. So one of them was culinary. Do this. There was also Bachelor, and there was also Backbench. And these were all operating as call signs of E6s who were involved in the Skymaster event. Why people fixated on culinary? I would guess maybe they were tuned to one SDR and not the other. Maybe they heard culinary and not the others. That could be the explanation for why people are so fixated on culinary. But it's randomly chosen, as far as I can tell, the same way that the call signs for the HFGCS on the day-to-day are just chosen from a predetermined list, but effectively at random. January 11th, I remember that one had some interesting call signs. I don't have great documentation here. One of the E6s used a call sign Starwish, one of them used a call sign Backbite, one of them used a call sign Automatic. What I want to do, maybe I can find this for you guys in real time. Fourth. Let's pull this up on screen. So, I mean, just because I want to show this to you guys, and this is pretty much more of a chat than a proper live stream in the real sense of it. x.com/rybar. So I've mentioned this account before. This is, let's be very clear about this. This is a known Russian account. And when we say Russian, this is associated, according to sources, with the Russian Ministry of Defense. And the reason I pulled this up, we're going to go back to April. So a lot of people were making these, silly correlations, and they are silly correlations, and if you still don't get it, that's on you. But we're scrolling all the way back to April-ish, because this was the only information source that I saw talking about these Skymaster events. And I think they talked about the April 12th and not the 18th. But actually, you know what? I have this bookmarked somewhere. I will find the link so that I don't have to scroll. And while I'm doing that, we will take a look at these again. I'm pulling this up from the... I don't have it documented. Do I not have it? Hold on. No, I don't have it. We've got to keep scrolling. This is fantastic content, ladies and gentlemen. Wait. I can make this slightly faster. Because X has advanced search settings. Query from these accounts. Oh, wait, no, that won't work because I don't remember what terminology they use. From April 1st, 2024 to, I don't know, May 15th. I'd be angry if they took the post down. Maybe they had to take it down. Okay. I should have bookmarked this. Where did it go? Do I have it bookmarked? I'm going to keep looking for that in the background. Because this genuinely will take me forever from the looks of it. But while I'm doing that, if you guys have questions about something specific, let me know. Because basically what I'm saying is this time tomorrow, or sorry, no, not this time tomorrow. I would say 12 hours from now, 12 to 15 hours from now, I would not be surprised if there is a Skymaster event starting. I would also not be that surprised if it doesn't happen. I guess the big question, because PDGLS has been nice enough to share that information with us and put it together. And he's sort of saying, you know, because there's no airspace reservation over the Gulf of Mexico, there doesn't seem to him like tomorrow's the day. I would just kind of push back because, like I said, they don't all have to be over all three bodies of water in question. So that's my thing. And because it's lining up with one of the possible dates, I'm wondering, you know, does that just push us into very likely? That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like today is likely. And we'll quickly find out and realize what's going on there. And if it's not today, if it's not August 21st, then I would be pretty comfortable saying, folks, come back on next Wednesday, August 28th. That would be, of the three dates that I've said are possible, that's the one where I'm thinking, yeah. Oh my goodness, let me... I think they took that post down. Insurance. Oh, for heaven's sakes, I could have just Googled it. Okay, I've got it. This is what I've been stalling for time. This is such a terrible stream, but this is the germane bit. So, on April 23rd, the Russian think tank that's allegedly directly associated with the Russian Ministry of Defense posts this thing. According to sources, the active phase of Prairie Vigilance 24-3 exercise was recently held, where 14 B-52 strategic bombers practiced training launches of nuclear missiles against Russia and China. After that, there was another training exercise that involved not only the air component, but also the naval one, namely nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. Now, if you look at this map, what you see is like the same thing I was sort of saying. Like you have E6s on the East Coast, you have E6s on the West Coast, like you have an E6 kind of in this central area. I think they're actually kind of mistaken there because I assumed it went over the Gulf of Mexico, but it may have just stayed in that area. Like you have this three-part event. E6s on in three areas of the United States, and they're doing exactly what I've sort of been saying. I think this is what they're doing. They're practicing like the start of World War III. But what got confused with other people, and the culinary thing in specific, is they thought this had anything to do with what was going on in Israel, or like the anything else that happens to catch their attention in the news of the day. This would happen regardless of what was happening in the world at any point in time. There's a running joke on this channel, there's a running joke on the internet overall that nothing ever happens. That's, I almost said that's privilege. That's such an obnoxious way of characterizing it, but something is always happening in the world somewhere. And there's at no point in history, or like modern history, could the US execute a military exercise without some conspiratorial mind saying, hey, there's something going on over here? The same time the US is doing this? Connected? Much? Like, that's the kind of like half-baked logic that was happening in April with these events. And, you know, I've pointed out that this is from a Russian resource so that, nobody feels like I'm pulling the wolves over their eyes and you find out tomorrow, oh, Neat Intel was talking up a Russian information source. But, like, it's not necessarily in the US military or US national interest to publish in the media what an exercise like this is, because people are just going to start panicking and making those kinds of silly assumptions. They just need to do it for their own purposes, which is practicing for something. JC's put it, every exercise is practice for something. So they have to do it, and they also do it knowing that their peer adversaries are able to surveil and know what's going on. They're partially doing this so that Russia knows that they know that it's being watched, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, we know that you know, and we know that you know that we know, and then you go kind of bounce around like that. So it is partially optic. The same way some EAM, like the EAM is kind of advertising to those people that, hey, we have an active nuclear deterrence system. You shouldn't mess with us. So no, this has little to do with Israel. The commands that you heard from culinary were coming from one of the E6s. So maybe this E6 was culinary. Maybe this E6 was culinary. Apparently there were two E6s over the Atlantic. Maybe one of those were culinary. And actually, I think I can narrow it down. On April 18th, culinary was broadcasting on the 10s and 40s. So one of those two E6s, according to Rybar. One of those was probably culinary out of Patuxent Air Base. That's who it was. There were other E6s, and if you scroll down, you get more information. It says here a total of 8 bombers were involved. 5 B-52s from Minot and Barksdale, as well as 3 B-2s from Whiteman. There's Whiteman again. And at the same time, the submarines were located off the east and west coasts. The coordination was carried out by the E4 and control aircraft from several bases. So, very limited information about Prairie Vigilance was made available to the public. especially about this specific exercise, it really doesn't surprise me that to get information on it, you'd have to actually go to a Russian information source because they would be surveilling, and it's kind of in their interest to make this publicly aware. Whereas for the US, it's like we aren't necessarily compelled to make it available. Having said that, there was some information about prairie vigilance made available. If you go to the Department of Defense's Defense Visual Information Distribution Service, which is what the U.S. military uses to communicate with journalists and to put out media for people who are interested and for news organizations who want media or stuff. I don't know what this picture is, but this is actually related to the Prairie Vigilance exercise. This is from a while ago, though. This is from one in 2020. If we go to a more recent one, oh, this is from 2021. Is there nothing more recent? This gives you an idea. They don't even always publish this. This is probably like an annual exercise, and they haven't published any media about prairie vigilance since 2021. Even though we would expect that it's still going on, like prairie vigilance 24/3. What other information do we get about that? Minot, Minot. You guys prefer calling it Minot? Fair enough. That's probably the correct way of saying it. The English language is ridiculous. So you do have some information here. Airmen from the 5th Bomb Wing at Minot and Barksdale participated in exercise Prairie Vigilance April 6th through 12th. And it gives you more information, and you guys will remember it was April 12th. That was the Skymaster event, the first of two in April, and the 12th kind of followed this weird period of time through the 9th, 10th, 11th, and that is all on this channel, by the way. If you go back to that period of time under the live stream tab, you have all this here available to you. Invaluable resource. Things started getting dicey around April 9th, and we did these additional streams. We captured a lot of information. We've got those time cards for the dates in question for you guys to take a look at. So that aligns pretty well with that information. But April 18th, we're not quite clear what happened that day. We know it was a Skymaster exercise because it was formatted very similar. When was Bayou Vigilance? That was concurrent, but maybe that lasted longer and covers the 18th. Nope. So we still don't have a strong answer for what was going on the 18th, but we know it would not be what the people on YouTube are going to tell you. It shouldn't surprise anyone that you're not going to get information directly from the US all the time because it's not in their interest to release the information. It really shouldn't surprise you that you're not always going to get good information from a YouTuber who is, actively grifting for clicks and for money and selling you guys stuff for 25% off and this, that, and the other. So that's kind of the ecosystem we're in with those. I mentioned this earlier. If we take a look at the Skymaster dates so far, and by the way, I'm not including the June Skymaster thing that wasn't Skymaster because they never said Skymaster on an ongoing basis. That was when the E6 was in Norway. For now, I'm going to say it wasn't one. Maybe with time that'll come out to not quite be right. So the dates we have so far for 2024, and let's just zoom in on this so that it's easier for you guys to read. Basically, we know we have a really good lead on what happened on the 12th of April, so the third one. The second one, when the E6 was flying to the Faroe Islands in northeast of the United Kingdom, we don't quite know what that exercise was called, although because we have that strong lead, we can probably at some point backtrack and figure out or find some documentation somewhere, some website, maybe some military Facebook page posted something about it from the Royal Air Force of the United Kingdom. So we've got that one. January 10th, we know that happens annually around the same time, but I don't think we know quite what exercise it is yet. Likewise for April 18th, 17th noted there. What's going on there? April 17th/18th. 17th was the Wednesday leading into the 18th. That's the reason. We're not 100% sure whether that was like part 2 of the 12th or not super sure. May 19th, I don't think anyone's like done backtracking. So I've said this a few times. What I was figuring I would do with like monitoring the HFGCS and kind of getting an idea of EAM traffic is I would kind of be able to cross-reference this with the other end of OSINT, where people, monitor all this stuff and know the dates of exercises. And it seems like I don't want to cast aspersions because that's really what don't mean to do at all, because they do a lot of things, but maybe they're not quite organized as such. Like I can't go to someone and say, "Hey, what happened on April 17th, 2024 from like the military perspective?" There's no quick and easy answer. Like if you ask me, what EAMs broadcast on such and such a day, well, I've got the recordings, or if I don't have the recordings, or like, I'll often have a time card. Like if you say as a random date, when I am monitoring, um, where are we here? Right, like January 11th, 2024, that was one of the Sky Masters. If you ask me what broadcast that day, I have that for you. But I don't know where I would go to ask someone, hey, what exercises were ongoing? And I know someone has suggested ChatGPT in the past. I can't pull that up on screen for you, but maybe I will try that in the background right now just for the sake of it. How do I hide that? All right. I wouldn't even know what to ask. What U.S. military exercises were ongoing on January 11th, 2024? I can't pull this up on screen for you guys. ChatGPT has me registered under my real name and blah, blah, blah. Is that correct? On January 11th, the U.S. was engaged in multiple exercises primarily as part of Steadfast Defender 2024. Wasn't that in October? Yeah, I don't think that's right. January to May 2024. Maybe it was right. Oh, shoot. Oh. Oh. What if the January 10th was the start of Steadfast Defender, and the 19th was the end? That doesn't really make sense, though, because the 19th one was just in the, uh, what was it, the Atlantic, right? Yeah, it was the B-52s out of Barksdale. It was kind of on the east side of the U.S. Maybe it was. When specifically did stuff begin and end? The exact starting date is not detailed, but it commenced in the first week of January and the entire exercise wrapped up by the end of May. So there's no like specific dates. Maybe that's the answer, guys. I'm inclined to say maybe that's the answer because I want AI to be right. I love AI. I hate saying, oh no, it's just hallucinating and it's not getting the right answer. I love ChatGPT so far. Never hitch your wagon to anything. how do I go back? There we go. No, how do I go back to the SDRs? There we go. Maybe that's correct. Why are these frozen? Maybe that's what that was. The other thing you can do, I've talked about this before, and we'll go back to the Neat Intel X account. If we go through media, assuming the images load, what I've talked about in the past is the idea that there's actually a fair amount of information released by the US military. It's just that they release it in these long, boring, like tax documents that most people don't read. So I actually found the thing I wanted to find fairly fast. Like, this tells us what's going on roughly on various times of the year. Now, when did I post this? This was back in April, so I was kind of proposing possible explanations for what would be happening in April. Now, this is talking fiscal year, and these are obviously each year is split into quarters. And just so you're aware, the fiscal year starts October 1st. So April would have been the third quarter, am I right? Yeah, so that's why I have that highlighted here. So these are like some possible explanations for what was going on then. What I can do is now try and find this exact same document. And how I will do that is having to work on the back end for you. If you guys use Mac OS, I can't pull it up on screen, but if you use Mac OS, if you use Safari, Safari will let you copy and paste text from images. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm just pulling that image up so that I can copy some of this down and look for it. Is this it? Joint air and missile. I'm having a fun time with the internet today. Missile defense exercise series 23. Darn it. Is this it? What year was this published? This should be it. Defense exercise. Oh, there's two spaces, that's why. Oh my god, this is the worst stream I've ever done. You guys can see like why I spend the time doing the PowerPoints and stuff, right? Because otherwise it's just me rambling. But those take hours. I didn't talk about this, but like, just so that people are aware, like, why I'm so disgruntled with like YouTube and why I'm pretty much done. Like a video like this, where I spend time like doing these forecasts and like putting together slides and like having it prepared and mastering the audio, and an ad comes on. This gets 200 300 views, and that's fine. Like I appreciate the 200 300 people who show up for these very much and find these helpful. But like if I come on and do a live stream of just patent nonsense, this is such a good example. We'll find out how many viewers it has. But like this was not prepared for at all, like a recent episode of Happeningwatch. And it got about more than 2 times as many views as like the one that I spent a lot more time. Like this took an hour. There was no preparation done for it. I just came on and talked for an hour and got 770 views. This 33-minute video, I probably spent 3 hours putting it together for you folks. Just so you're aware, like why I don't like YouTube. This actively bothers me. The like garbage This is like this current stream is not very good. I apologize for it. The last few times I improvised, it was decent, but this is a very bad live stream. And just me like trying to pull up information here, like this is a mess. This doesn't work with YouTube anymore. I think it all needs to be moved to a wiki or something, and that'll probably be, I think, a goal for this project. Bouncing around through social media and stuff, it doesn't work. But sometimes it does. Because you guys are saying look up large scale global exercise 2024. What is the context of that, though? I'm not sure what the context of that is. Sometimes it works because we get some helpful information from people. Like PDGLS would not be sharing information with me if I was just posting on a random wiki no one had ever heard of. Fair enough. But like me bouncing around through this on YouTube and X and all this, I feel like we're reaching our logical end. I feel like that anyways. I don't know how you guys feel. My goal for the Skymaster event, whether it happens today or next Wednesday, or the Wednesday after that, I can be a little bit more theatrical. I can put on more of a show than this. I think we did pretty decent back in April. But I will say, I was looking at the view counts before. If we look at the April 12th exercises, and bear in mind I had multiple like concurrent live streams, but like if you add this up, we had 23,000 views, 2.5, 3.1. These three streams had about 28,000 views across. And if we look at what happened on the 18th, I mean, it was fairly split up, but 10,000, 12, I'll round that up to 17. Oh, it was just split up. Okay, it wasn't that bad. I would like to see like this view count maintained because the goal is like bringing attention to all of this. And getting more people interested in monitoring this and like helping out, and that's why you have the Discord server set up and so on and so on and so on. But like if that's not working anymore, if we've pretty much got our core audience, and I think we have, then in terms of doing like these big bombastic live streams, I don't know. I don't think it's that valuable anymore. I think it's kind of reached the effect that it's going to have, but maybe I'm way wrong. But that will be the plan for now anyways. I am set up so that during the next Skymaster, we'll do what we've always done, which is streaming and doing the hoopla and trying to run multiple concurrent live streams. And I do on the Discord, and maybe I can show briefly an idea of like where that documentation would be better. I don't think I could pull up Discord. Hold on, maybe I can. Let me check. Okay. So on the Discord, I have been documenting some stuff, but I'm realizing when I was looking through earlier, I was like, I need to not even count on double checking on YouTube or X unless there's a specific tweet. But there is information in here. So January 11th, February 7th, April, the other April, May 15th, 16th. Like I said, I'm inclined to not count what happened in June as a Skymaster event. But April 18th is a good example because January 11th, we lost several hours of footage because I realized how YouTube works. You start hearing a bunch of messages on additional frequencies. So we talked about this. You have an E6 on the East Coast, you have an E6 on the West Coast, you have an E6 either the Gulf of Mexico or kind of like central continental US, and they're acting like their own discrete stations. Like they're not doing simulcasts, they are not working together as such. Like if an EAM broadcast right now, like an EAM broadcast close to the start of this stream, we heard it on multiple SDRs coming from all of the HFGCS stations around the world. And whether you're listening on 4724 or 8992 or 11175 or 15016, pending reception conditions, you would hear that same message no matter which frequency you tune into, wherever in the world. Again, pending conditions. It's a little bit of a simplification, but like you're not going to tune in to a frequency and hear different EAMs at different times, generally speaking. You do, during Skymaster events, have E6s operating completely differently from each other. So me capturing that with one stream is actually not possible. I have to like bounce back and forth between multiple SDRs, and that's why we have like those concurrent live streams. We saw that earlier. Can I pull that up again, or is that going to be too much hassle for me? We'll do it again. We can go to the April 12th one. See, this is why I had like multiple live streams going at the same time. Because what you were hearing on 8992 in California was different from what you were hearing from 11175 in Central US. And then I had an additional live stream, which was me talking, and giving you guys context and bouncing around multiple SDRs and introducing to a wider audience, what is this? What is going on? But if we hop, oh, sorry, I hate this thing. These are the streams I was talking about. So you had, 11175 in the central US, 8992 on the West Coast, and then this stream with the 23,000 views. This was me explaining what's going on, what's a Skymaster, to a lot of people who had never heard of this before. And when it allows, well, when I have the resources, etc., we try and do that for all of the Skymasters according to the scope of the exercise. So this one, again, on the 18th, this is the same stream. It just got split up halfway through. 8992, 11175. Good, fine, cool. But now we can go back to Discord. We also began hearing a lot of messages on additional frequencies, and these are not standard HFGCS frequencies. And these, except for this power bill, these are not usual call signs. We actually heard one during a stream earlier today, but these are NATO trigraphs. So these are potentially, and I say potentially in italics, potentially submarines, which I think is quite exciting. But I don't even know if a submarine can broadcast that strong of a signal. More likely, these were, I mean, theoretically, they're Navy assets, but my guess was they were B-52s or something. I actually don't have a good guess for what these are exactly. I'm sure you guys in the chat box are yelling at me right now. I'll take a look at that in a moment. But those are some of the frequencies, and like these are some additional frequencies. So my goal, like in the long run, and I'm starting to realize this is probably not attainable, was to have like a network of people monitoring this. And as soon as we become aware that one of the frequencies has gone live in some area, it's like, okay, you monitor 4721 in the US East Coast. And now that we know 4721, I want someone on the West Coast monitoring as well. And I say this because look at this, you had like two different trigraphs apparently on one of the frequencies, and that might have been just like split by region. And that's potentially the case for like all of these additional frequencies that crop up. It's certainly the case even just for the standard HFGCS frequencies. Like, I would want at minimum like 9 people during an event like this. Someone 4724 East Coast, someone 4724 Central, someone 4724 West Coast. I even want maybe someone in Europe, and then I also want that for 8992 and 11175, and etc., etc. That's probably not happening because we've made so little traction in developing towards that. We've more so had to deal with people who see that this gets a little bit of interest, and that means that they can grift off of it. Which, whatever. That's fine. You can't. Oh, I think we missed a radio check. You can't not do it because people will grift off of you, but then you kind of have to like uh, assess your resources and stuff, I think. Sorry for the echo there. Sounded like a test count to me. Where did that echo come from? Oh, it was this SDR. Um, I don't think I have that much more to talk about right now. This has been a very long-winded. I think it's looking like a Skymaster is on the possibility. Today is looking decent because we have. It is a Wednesday. We do have those very long airspace reservations, and I do have some questions. But I will say the PDGLS does have his doubts, and even if there ends up being a Skymaster today, it's not proving him wrong. Like it's not like, oh, he's wrong, you can't, trust him anymore. That's like overkill. That's not how this should work. This is sort of like a great science experiment or like a data collection. And if someone comes with like good evidence and reasonable speculation on top of that, um, that should be welcome. So like no one is really wrong as such. Like it's not a hard knock on the person. It's just okay. Like we have a theory. We'll see whether this theory is right, and if it doesn't work out, why didn't it work out? So if there is no Skymaster event today, August 21st, 2024, um, like I said earlier, of the three possible dates, I would have bet very strongly on August 28th. I didn't even have graphics set up for August 21st originally. Like I was like, it's not going to happen. And then I saw these like these airspace reservations. I said, uh-oh, it could happen today. It could happen August 21st. Because that's my impression of the airspace reservations is that those don't sound normal to me. But you guys know very well, you saw earlier in the stream, I can't even pull those airspace reservations up very well. It's my impression, um, from what I've heard, like secondhand information, because I ask other people about this. This to them is not normal. Like the airspace reservations that I've found, where like it's they're 2 or 4 hours at a time. That's typical. These longer airspace reservations of like 12 hours, that's not normal. Um, and they may not even use it, which would be interesting because if they don't use it, that tells us something, and we actually have to make sure we document this, so that we know in the future, like, don't flag for a possible Skymaster event just based on those notices. And that would lend more credence to what PDGLS has been saying as a point of criticism, which is, there's no airspace reservation over the Gulf, so there's no reason to get panicky. And panicky isn't the right word either. There's never any reason to get panicky with any of these. These are military exercises. You can talk in a bigger scope, that these are concerning in terms of the global climate. You can talk about, the International Bulletin of Atomic Scientists when they say we're 90 seconds away from destruction. Their forecast of World War III, which, what was it during the Cuban Missile Crisis? It was at least a few minutes. 7 minutes? I think 3 minutes. Although it's not like they updated in real time during the crisis. It's just an annual thing. I can't respond to my. Okay, I'm rambling. Um, yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up. This is not a good stream. I may even take it down after, to be honest with you. Thank you very much for tuning in, but this is the one night where the commentary. Maybe I'm being too critical, but I feel like I've been wasting people's time and I'm trying to recover, but I'm just making it worse. Um, let's take a look at the chat box comments before we wrap it up. So Bellerophon's been leaving quite a few bits of information. I don't always speak to all of it because it's sort of self-evidently valuable. If you guys don't follow along with him when he is in the chat box, it's essentially half the value of this channel at this point. I think Bellerophon needs to set up a Patreon or something, honestly. Da, da, da. Z69 commented earlier, we aren't going to hear anything serious on these EAMs. Everything we hear now is more than likely training or comms checks. After a major event, we might hear the real stuff. They have phones now. I would be inclined to agree. I would say, these are exercises. The most bizarre message I heard we talked about earlier, where we had that nuclear execution and recovery report, I believe, that message involving a decommissioned Air Force base in northern Michigan. That's probably the weirdest message I've heard. It bothers me. But I think it was a military exercise. And just in case there was someone who is joining us late, I will go back to that one. It's not something about this message really bugs me. Like I don't like that it was broadcast. And this, to put it in context, like I'm not saying this was real. I'm saying this was a practice. This was an exercise. I think it was the other one. So we're not going to listen to it again, but if you look up this message on YouTube, type that in, Skymaster Recovery Report, April 16th, 2023. You can listen to the recording. And we talked about earlier in the stream. This is an airport code. This is an airport code. A recovery report based on Freedom of Information documents we think has to do with a nuclear execution reporting plan. So why are they broadcasting stuff related to decommissioned Air Force bases? Like it was decommissioned back in the 90s. Like this wasn't like a year or two ago. This has not been an active part of Strategic Air Command for like decades. Now, maybe that's something they do to make it very obvious that this is practice and not real. But there are other things we've talked about on this channel. They do weird stuff in Northern Michigan. And this is like the weird. So to tie back to the original comment, like this weirds me out a lot. But if I ever go on YouTube and yell at you people and like try and scare you about this, saying, this means war is about to happen imminently, that's reckless of me. And it's reckless because we've seen in YouTube chat box comments on other channels, people genuinely panic about this. Like they don't know the context, they're unaware of it. And when they find this channel that they either haven't heard of before or have only heard of like for a week or two and take it credibly and assume this is a news information resource yelling at them, the World War III is about to start. It's a terrible thing to do. It is. And I know why they do it, because YouTube monetizes you to do it. The whole monetization thing has as much of an impact on the audience because as creators, we're incentivized to make nonsense because they get more clicks. But it also affects the it's a bad thing. And I like Z69's comment, which is, you're not going to hear the real stuff during these exercises. As far as the comment about phones, it is worth mentioning here. The reason they do these exercises and use the HFGCS for these practice events is, during a war situation, which is what they're practicing for, your cell phones won't be working. Your landlines will be cut. One of the first communication systems that will restore to normal use and have a decent level of resiliency would be shortwave radio. So that's why they use this. That's why they practice with this. And it totally makes sense that they would do that. Sweet Liberty comments, those ICBMs are still heading east. Yeah, if you watch the stream that I was alluding to on April 18th on that other channel, they told their audience that ICBMs were fired, not a drill actually happened. And you can't undo an ICBM being launched, so they must still be in the air somewhere, just moving very, very slowly. And maybe they're invisible. Like, you know, it's kind of nonsense. Henry Dillman, lots of unusual air traffic lately. Yeah, we didn't even talk about this, but there was also like an absence of air traffic. Let me see if I can pull this up. The Intel Frog. We love the Intel Frog. And I know I often say that sarcastically. No, we love the Intel Frog. He is one of the information sources I rely on to have any idea what's going on sometimes. And you guys will remember if in the chat box, this would have flown by me. There was a multi-day period where like there was no E6s or E4s active, showing up on ADSB Exchange, showing up on Flight Radar 24. They just weren't doing anything. During this period, it became obvious because afterwards we saw an E4, as he documents here, taking off from Texas and then headed back to Offutt. This happened on the 19th, so this was after they appeared to be, moving and shaking again. But the problem is, the last time we saw it prior to the 19th, it was in Offutt on the 14th. So this was the before, right? On August 14th, it was over here. And then on August 19th, it headed back to Offutt from Texas. But we don't know when it went to Texas. And it was during that period when we didn't see them doing anything. And he pulled up this post from this person that it landed in Texas on the 14th, on the 15th? 15th. He's got the context here. Let's refer to this. So it was spotted on the ground in Texas on the 15th, leading me to believe that it flew down on the 14th after it was active on the ground in Offutt. So this day, when we saw it on the ground but we didn't see it do anything else, it flew to Texas. Why was this transponder off? Why did we see no other E6s showing up on radar? Or sorry, this is an E4, but like, why was nothing on the radar? Were they really not doing anything? It's quite tough to figure out. The assumption would be that they weren't, but we've got this one. In terms of other flight activity, let's take a look at, well, today's the 21st, and we looked at it earlier in the stream, but let's take a look. What the heck? Bruh? Can I pull this up right now? This is filtered for right now. Oh, okay, it's not landing, it's just doing these loops around off it. But it also did this? This is just while I've been talking to you. It did this giant thing, I think. But if we go back to the 20th, which was the traffic during some of the weird messages that we heard on the 20th, decent amount of movement, around whatever. That's fine. This is a little weird, I think. It's not like crazy weird, but it's let's see. What other comments do we have? I have to make more of a habit of kind of watching the comments during the streams rather than catching up at the end, because I'm kind of taking them out of context sometimes. And then it's possible while I'm responding to them right now, you guys are commenting in the chat box again. This is why I prefer the X space to YouTube, because it's kind of me monologuing at you guys versus a more cooperative call-in format. We had one last week. When was that specifically? 4 days ago, not even a full week ago. Decent amount of you tuned in to listen to that. Appreciate that. Would like to see even more participation next time. More about culinary. Some speculation on like the rationale for the Skymaster events earlier this year. We'll leave that for now. That'll be something to kind of work on for either a write-up or like one large video to push closer to the end of this year as kind of like a recap of all the Skymaster events of 2024. Suzanne comments, I do believe you have people that frequent the channel are interested and have radio. They may just not be aware of your intentions. Two parts to that comment. Definitely appreciate the people who frequent the channel and are interested, and I think most of the content I make for you guys is good. So it's not like I'll never do those produced videos again just because they have a lower view count. I will make them, just not as often, I guess. And that's a simple case of quality over quantity. I can push happening watches out more often because I just hop on with little to no preparation. And I mean, the last few were not horrible, but this one is quite off. Balerifon is saying leave it up. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it up. Admiral, I've recently gotten into this, and this has been very good info. I would leave it up. I guess so. I don't know. We'll leave it up. We'll leave it up because you guys want it left up. But I would say definitely keep an eye out for the produced videos, and I know most of you do anyways. The E4 transponder is flaky. For a long time, it wasn't showing a straight line at the same time, and R135 was doing perfect racetracks. Okay, that honestly could be an explanation for it. Yeah, it's always one of those things, like you see something when you're not really thinking about it, you're just like, whoa, what the heck? Whoa, what is this? Is this happening, man? Is this it? And it's like, no, be quiet. Just, that was one of those. There was one thing I want to bring, if I can bring this up on screen, let me check. So I saw some people getting excited about this. And this is the summary from X. Actually, this is very germane. So President Joe Biden approved a new U.S. nuclear strategy that shifts focus towards deterring potential nuclear threats from Russia, China, and North Korea. The strategy, which was detailed by the New York Times, represents a significant update in U.S. policy by emphasizing the need to prepare for coordinated nuclear confrontations with these nations. The document, which is part of a regular update process which occurs every 4 years, underscores a long-term strategic planning rather than immediate threat of nuclear conflict. So, a couple things. Regular update process occurring every 4 years and in March 2024. Oh, let's zoom in on that, just so that you understand. Regular update process occurring every 4 years. March 2024. Does not represent an immediate threat of nuclear conflict. Let's see if I remember that YouTube channel's name. Is it loading? It's not even loading. YouTube.com. Prepper. Videos live. He's live right now. 344 people watching. Biden orders preparations for nuclear confrontations. Live monitoring. So that's the kind of stupidity that we'll see coming from other channels covering Skymaster events if and when they happen. Basically, there's levels, like I've said this before, there's like literacy questions with some of these people. And you can see these people made quote tweets. They made posts. And these are some of the popular air quotes news channels: Disclosed TV, Roz Alerts. I haven't heard of Globi News, Spectator Index. Well, like Spectator Index is more specific, right? It says back in March. But if you look at these other ones, like Breaking, that's why it got community noted. Likewise, if you see Disclosed TV, they said just in, and they got community noted. And it's anyone who's like intentionally leaving out, they all got community noted. And this is why, as I am becoming more pessimistic about X, at least in the context of this project. Oh, sorry, you guys couldn't see that. Why is this program doing this to me? What is that even looking at? Is it frozen? Is that working? Okay. Did you guys see that earlier, or was it frozen when I was going through the separate posts? Anyways, I'll recap quickly. Disclosed TV said just in, they got community noted. Roz Alert said breaking news, made it sound like it was imminent, community noted. This is not an imminent nuclear confrontation. This one, the Spectator Index says a classified document approved in March. Right? So Twitter is only so useful for this project. But I'm fairly optimistic about Twitter because if you spout nonsense, you will get community noted. And the community note system isn't perfect. Because you can always community note something, but you have to get a consensus to get it applied. And there's also some drawbacks to the fact that if you turn this into a system where if you successfully community note someone, they don't get revenue. But all these accounts, this community note, like this 3.6 million views, whatever ad revenue this account was going to get originally, it gets 0 for this post. Roz Alerts, 2 million views, 0 ad revenue because it got community noted. That doesn't exist on YouTube. There's no community notes system, there's nothing. So that's why the state of YouTube is what it is. You can do good stuff on YouTube, but like you have to go like so over the top, like in production values and etc. So with Skymaster coverage on YouTube, I'll be doing kind of the same thing I've always done, which is decent. 25,000 views is a high watermark for this channel. We normally get about 2,000 views a day, so there's definitely an uptick, and I appreciate that. And it makes me optimistic. But in the long term, I think what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is shifting this to a text-based project of some kind. YouTube should be something more just to upload the recordings because it's sort of free cloud storage, presumably in perpetuity. But I would rather direct you guys to like some kind of a wiki or a website or something, I think. That's not imminent. That would probably be a goal for like next year or something. But at least on my part, like once I start working on that website, it'll probably be kind of the end, in the sense, the same way like when you're working on a research project, like you collect data for however long. Like if you're doing a PhD, like you collect data for 2 years, 3 years, however long it is. and then you're done, and then you do your write-up. So that's kind of the goal, I think, is to work towards a write-up. And I think for Skymaster events in 2024, well, I mean, we'll have the January event. We will definitely have a Skymaster in early January. So I don't know when exactly, but at some point, we'll put a pause and have to start writing this down versus me bouncing around. Here's this post and that post and watching me struggle in real time. And more produced videos and blah, 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 blah. But how have I been talking for 2 hours? How many of you are still tuned into this? Bless your hearts. We'll start the overnight stream shortly after this ends. We'll probably shoot for a 0500 start on that. So a little over an hour from now. But we're going to wrap this one up. To recap, if I can recap. This is what I'm expecting over the next 24 hours, and if it doesn't happen during this 24 hours, then it'll happen, a week from now or else the week after that. If I had to put money on any one date, even right now, I would still say August 28th, but there are some strange airspace reservations in place for August 21st, which makes me think if you have time today/tomorrow, depending on your time zone. I mean, it's about to be tomorrow for me in like 3 minutes, where I currently am. Usually am, not always though. What is it? 10 hours from now? Not even. 4, 13. 13 minus 4. 9 hours from now. Ish. It could start that soon. If you've got a shortwave radio, if you know your way around an SDR, it is probably a better day than usual to listen to the HFGCS, to record the HFGCS, and if things do start going on, keep an eye out for additional frequencies that might be in use. And you'll see me coming on live with additional streams. I will do a commentary stream, which will not be like the one you've just heard. I'll make sure I have, an extra coffee and I'm firing on all cylinders and have something, coherent for you folks. At least on par with what we've done in the previous Skymaster events. And again, if it's not today, we learn something from that and we recollect and we say, okay, what about next Wednesday? August 28th. And if it's not August 28th, we say, oh, that's weird. What about Wednesday, September 4th? And if it's not Wednesday, September 4th, we don't keep guessing. We don't say, oh, any Wednesday could be a Skymaster event. We try and figure out a system where we can anticipate these coherently so that, we can come to you live and say, this is a better day than usual for this. Keep an eye out on this date, that date, or the other date, and not just like an open-ended thing. And if we look at the dates that we've done so far, we roughly got those 5 right, which is surprising. I thought I would have a much higher error rate. So we're 5 for 5, but there is one mistake. So June, like I said, and for anyone who's not familiar, maybe we need to pull this up on screen right now. So if you watch the June 2024 forecast, you will remember that I was expecting a Skymaster event around June 19th, and nothing happened. Well, Was it June 19th? It was a Wednesday. Yeah, June 19th. We had the E6 over Lake Superior, but it didn't even broadcast any octopus messages. After June 19th, I said, oh, that's really weird. What's going on? And kind of kept monitoring actively, saying something feels off. Like, why didn't it happen? And this is potentially why it didn't happen. If you guys watched that overnight stream on June 19th and you watched the recap that I did shortly before, I said, we're still keeping an eye out for this. And we kind of got lucky, I would say, because the E6 did go to Europe, and we talked about that in that live stream. The E6 went to Europe, and it did that thing in Norway, in the sea to the west of Norway. And there were some very strange messages broadcast. But it wasn't quite the way I expected it. Like a revised broadcast forecast, this is decent. Like, we didn't miss it, but we didn't quite forecast it correctly. And it wasn't even a Skymaster by the definition I'm currently using. Like, we never heard anyone use the term Skymaster on the radio. That's the only one that's like a miss, I would say. So we're 5 out of 6 right-ish. Kind of. So that's the error rate for these so far. To be clear, how do I go back to that tab? Just so that you guys understand, if it's any 3 of these dates, if it's August 21st, August 28th, or September 4th, any 3 of those, like, that will count as a win for me in terms of the percentage win rate. It's not going to be like a 33% success rate for this period, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So that's a little bit more context for how I kind of characterize the success/failure of the way I'm approaching this. If there aren't any other questions, I think we need to wrap this up very quickly. Once again, thank you very much for your time. I guess, I don't know. Not the best stream, but the relevant information, I would say if you watch the first 10 minutes, you got most of what you need, and then the rest has just been rambling and very low value add. I don't think there are any questions. If there are, guys, reach out on X. Reach out in the comments of videos. Other than that, you guys are surprisingly quiet as an audience, I will say. And as I've said before, so that I don't, work myself into a frenzy and a panic, if I don't hear too much from you, I'm going to assume things are good and you're happy. So if you do have some questions or concerns with any of the information I'm sharing, or like it doesn't make sense to you, please don't hesitate to let me know. And the one thing I would say is definitely do go back and check out the older videos. I did format the front page of this channel the way I did for a reason. So if you click the headings, it's helpful to click the headings, because if you just scroll, it'll only go back so far. But if you actually click the heading and see the full playlist, there's a lot more videos. And I would say this one in specific, the one on the top, most of these are informational videos. You'll find them useful. Some of them are time sensitive, but other than that, most of these, even if they're specific to a time, will have value for you in terms of, understanding messages. The individual message recordings, we talked about this earlier. Some of these are just long messages, which, good and fine, but there are some gems buried in there, and you can kind of tell. I try and make it obvious from the thumbnail, but there's some outliers where these aren't anything special. This was just me doing some A/B testing to see whether looking more military would get more clicks, and actually it didn't, which is weird. And the other ones, I'll leave that for you guys to navigate. I would suggest, if you haven't experienced a Skymaster Live before, click one of the commentary ones. Watch, 30 minutes, an hour, so that you have an idea of what it is that's interesting about these. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Need Intel. It is August 21st, 2024, and we're watching. We're keeping our eyes on the skies, and I hope you are too. Bye-bye.